One day, a couple are getting married, while their friends and families record the festive event with a camera. After the wedding, the newlywed couple plans to go on their honeymoon on a remote island in the Hawaiian archipelago. They record the activities they do while on the trip. Before arriving in Hawaii, they have a little fun on a helicopter ride while enjoying the air and the beautiful scenery. After that, the newlyweds, Cliff and Sydney, drive to a shop to buy all the equipment they need, and to register for a permit to explore the tourist attractions there in Honolulu. After some preparation, they rush to enjoy the scenery on the island. Unbeknownst to them, a newspaper is reporting that 2 bodies of a couple have just been found dead in Oahu. With happy hearts, they enjoy the trip. On the way, they meet another couple named Kale and Cleo who are looking for a ride on the side of the road. Cliff decides to give them a ride even though Sydney disagrees. Cleo feels happy and reveals that they are going to Lumahai Beach, which is about 10 miles from the road. After hearing Sydney's disapproval, Cliff argues that he doesn't drive that far and can't get them there. Then, Cleo shows her a photo with Kale, showing that they are also newly married. Seeing that, Cliff and Sydney feel that they are both newlyweds and decide to take them. However, Kale is already annoyed by Sydney's earlier disapproval, so he doesn't want to ride with them and tells Cleo to get out of the car. Once they arrive at the beach, Cliff and Sydney rush for the hike. On the way to the climb, they meet a dashing man named Nick. Nick shows how to get through the steep terrain. When Sydney tries to pass the steep path, she slips because she is surprised by a helicopter that flies over her head. Luckily, Nick swiftly grabs Sydney's hand and she is saved. While on the way, Nick seems to recognize Cliff, but he still has doubts about his memory. Hearing this, Cliff shares that he is a film screenwriter. Cliff then complains that his first work is being made into a film, but the studio has hired another writer to rewrite it. While hiking, the 3 of them meet another group and hears about the murder of 2 people who are on their honeymoon on Oahu. They had their teeth extracted and fingerprints removed. Police are looking for the alleged perpetrators of a man and a woman. Cliff, who hears this, hesitates whether to continue the journey or go home. However, Sydney doesn't want her honeymoon to fail, but still chuckles to continue the journey and reassures Cliff that everything will be fine. Then, the 3 of them arrive at a lake decorated with waterfalls and a raft. On the raft, a woman is lying on her stomach without wearing any clothes. Then, Nick also takes off his clothes and approaches the raft. Nick introduces to Cliff and Sydney that the woman on the raft is Gina, his true love. With a friendly manner, Gina invites Sydney to skinny dip with them. They finally start to get to know each other from then on. Meanwhile, Cliff climbs to the higher ground to get a phone signal. He Googles to find out about the recent murder case on Oahu. Feeling curious, Cliff flips through articles about the case to see photos of the killer. When he wants to download the photo, he suddenly realizes the presence of Cleo and Kale in front of him. He is shocked, and Kale intimidates him because he didn't want to give Kale and Cleo a ride at that time. When Cliff feels cornered, Nick appears, so Kale releases him. Cliff goes over to Nick for cover and they leave them. Nick and Cliff meet their partners who have finished swimming and plan to continue the hike together. Before climbing, Cliff checks his bag and finds that his license isn't there. Sydney thinks that the license has been left in the shop they were shopping at, but Cliff thinks it was with him. Because of that, he suspects Kale and is curious about the contents of Kale's bag that is left in his car at that time. However, he doesn't find it and only sees Kale's parole card. The 4 of them continue their journey, chatting and familiarizing themselves to get to know each other better. Nick tells Cliff and Sydney that he was a soldier, but stopped due to his skull injury. Nick even shows his skull with a metal plate installed. Nick talks a lot about his experiences while on missions as an American soldier. Hearing Nick's experience, Cliff and Sydney are so amazed and horrified. After sharing the story, Nick wants Cliff to write a story about him and make it into a movie. Cliff and Sydney look at each other and smile faintly. As they continue their journey, rain comes and they are all soaked. As the rain grows heavier, the men make tents for shelter and the women make food. To help Cliff make tents, Nick throws an axe at him. With good reflexes, Cliff catches it, and Nick smiles at him. Nick compliments his good reflexes despite his job and his looks. Nick grabs a knife and invites Cliff to hunt with him. Cliff is afraid, so he refuses the invitation and chooses to stay in the tent. However, Cliff feels embarrassed after Nick teases him and he decides to go. In the woods, Nick says that just like Cliff, he was on Oahu when the murder took place. Over the talk, Nick reveals that 2 people are following them. Then, Nick sees a deer he is hunting for and chases after it. But Cliff's view is different, he sees people taking shelter and coming to him. On the other hand, Sydney tells her sad story to Gina. She once had an abusive partner named Rocky, and he beat at her often. From that story, Gina becomes more sympathetic to Sydney. Returning to Cliff, he is startled by the arrival of someone from behind. Feels surprised, Cliff almost kills the man who turns out to be the local from the shop earlier. He just wants to deliver Cliff's license that he has left at the store. After that, the person leaves Cliff in fear. Shortly after, Cliff and Nick regroup in the tent. Nick proudly walks towards the tent carrying a deer he has hunted. Seeing that, Cliff and Sydney become very amazed. In addition, Gina skillfully cuts and slices the deer for them to eat, almost making them scared. While Nick and Gina are preparing dinner, Cliff and Sydney are in the tent. They are afraid of Nick and Gina, fearing that the two might be the killers. They discuss a plan to escape them. Sydney proposes to pretend to be sick. However, Cliff doesn't like the idea and chooses to trust them some more as Nick has saved Sydney's life. Morning comes, and suddenly they all wake up to hear the sound of helicopters flying low above them. It is police helicopters that is patrolling in search of the murderer. Upon landing, the police officers arrest Kale and Cleo as primary suspects. The officers check Kale's bag and find a hammer and some teeths from the victims inside. It makes Kale confused because he never keeps it in his bag. Not long after, Kale and Cleo are brought into the helicopter by the officers. Feeling that the killer has been caught, the four of them become very relieved and trust each other more. After packing, the four of them resume their journey. After a tiring journey, they finally arrive at the beach, which is also their destination for their honeymoon. The view of the sea, which looks very beautiful, makes them feel at home. While Nick is enjoying the atmosphere there, Cliff comes to him and invites him to explore the sea cave. Nick initially refuses, but Cliff persuades him by saying that he will make a movie about him. Seeing them having fun makes Gina jealous. Gina idly heads to the tent and sees some photo files of Cliff and Sydney on the handycam. While Sydney is enjoying the beach surroundings, Gina feels something strange in the photos. Gina is surprised to see that Cliff and Sydney are not in the wedding photos, but some other couple that she has never seen before. Realizing that Cliff and Sydney are the murderers, Gina immediately runs to the beach and calls out to Nick. However, Nick doesn't hear Gina screaming. Meanwhile, Nick and Cliff continue to paddle their boat into the sea cave. Gina is panicked and tries to call Nick, but there is no signal at all. She decides to save her lover by herself, so she takes an axe and runs towards the sea cave by climbing the cliff on the edge of the sea. Meanwhile, Sydney has realized that Gina has known their true identities. She chases after Gina. After a long journey on a boat, the two boys arrive at the sea cave. Feeling tired, Nick takes a bottled drink from his pocket. But strangely, there is a scorpion in his drinking bottle even though he always shuts it close. Because he feels something is wrong, he looks at Cliff deeply. He realizes that Cliff is a swindler. Slowly, he reaches for a knife, trying to defend himself should Cliff do anything weird. Meanwhile, Cliff shatters his glasses and turns his innocent face into a grimace while pulling out a gun. With a grim face, Cliff admits that he purposely put the poisonous scorpion into Nick's bottle, but the attempt failed. When Cliff tries to shoot Nick, a series of flashbacks occur. It is revealed that Cliff and Sydney are the perpetrators of the murders that occurred in Oahu. They use the victims' names and assume their identity, becoming Cliff and Sydney. Cliff's real name turns out to be Rocky. The real Cliff and Sydney were killed near the harbor while trying to go to Hawaii for their honeymoon. They both murder them to steal the victim's identity, money, jewelry, cameras, and other valuables. After stealing the victim's belongings, they remove the traces by cutting the victim's fingers and pulling out the victim's teeth. Turns out, the murderer's photo that is on Google is actually Rocky and his girlfriend before they put up new disguise. All this time, Rocky and his girlfriend only pretended to be newlyweds and pretended to be scared too by the news of the murder. Rocky also assumes the victim's life story where the victim worked as a film screenwriter, to make his disguise perfect. Nick's story is also shown before joining Rocky and Sydney, where before going on a hike, he has ordered a ring at a jewelry store. He intended to give a special surprise to Gina. He planned to put the ring on Gina's ring finger when they are at the beach. Meanwhile, Rocky and Sydney got honeymoon tickets from the new couple they had killed. By chance, they ran into Nick and Gina on a hike. Rocky also put pliers in his previous victim's teeth into Kale's bag. Later, when the man at the store came to Rocky to give him his lost license, Rocky said that he suspected Kale and Cleo of being the perpetrators of the murders. Rocky told him to call the police so that Kale and Cleo were arrested. It convinced Nick and Gina that the two are just regular couples and that Rocky is a real screenwriter. Realizing their crimes, Sydney is fed up with Rocky's plans, but because of his love for him, she still follows his wishes. Rocky also promises sweet lies to her, and she believes it. Back to the storyline, Gina is on the edge of the beach and climbs the cliff to see where Nick is. On the cliff, she witnesses Nick's head being shot by Rocky, making him fall into the sea. Meanwhile, Rocky tries to shoot Gina. Fortunately, the bullet misses and Gina runs away. Before she can escape, Sydney chases after and manages to find her. They then engage in a brawl. When Sydney tries to stick a knife into Gina's body, she manages to dodge it, and Sydney falls into the sea. While enduring the pain, Gina keeps trying to call Nick but there is no answer. By chance, Gina gets a mysterious call from an unknown person who turns out to be Rocky himself. From below, Rocky appears and grabs Gina's leg. Gina has good reflexes and sticks a knife into Rocky's palm, before going down the cliff. On the other hand, Nick survived the shot because Rocky's bullet hit the metal plate on his head. After that, Nick rushes after Rocky, who is hunting for Gina. As for Sydney, she sees the police helicopter coming and calls them, enabling her to board it. On her run, Gina meets some people and tells them about the condition, but they don't believe it. Rocky also appears and tries to win the crowd by lying that Gina is a drug addict. One of the men doesn't believe what Rocky has accused Gina of because he knows the characteristics of an addict. Feeling there is no other way to convince them, Rocky shoots all of them. Gina, who is getting more and more shocked, runs away from Rocky once more. Luckily, Nick jumps on Rocky and stabs him. However, Rocky parries it with his palm and causes his palm to be injured badly. Rocky tries to shoot Nick, but his shot misses due to his palm injury. Then, Nick grabs Rocky's gun and points it at him, wanting to kill him immediately. A moment later, Sydney comes with a police helicopter and flies over them. She tells the officers that the perpetrator is among the three. Sydney hesitates to continue her statement, so the police take the initiative to shoot Nick, because he is holding a knife to Rocky's neck. Can't take it anymore, Sydney admits that she's one of the perpetrators. When the police want to shoot, suddenly Gina comes and grabs Nick. As a result, Nick doesn't shoot Rocky in front of the police. Gina releases her anger by kicking Rocky in the face and he falls. Meanwhile, Sydney realizes that Gina and Nick are a far better couple than her and Rocky. Sydney feels that her life has been dragged down the wrong path and is ruined because of Rocky's actions. She changes her mind and reveals that Rocky is the other real killer. When Rocky wants to reach for his gun, the police shoot him dead. At the end of the story, Nick and Gina are saved after beating Rocky at his own game. Nick proposes to Gina, to which she accepts wholeheartedly. They both then agree not to go on honeymoon this time. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.